Hello everyone. This is going to be some literary and jury charge for the 140 class. We're going to start off with a narrative answer. I'm going to read this once at 120, then I'm going to read it again at 140, and then I will read it again at 160. Okay, here we go. Ready? He was low on gas. I am not sure what really happened. I know that we were coasting to save on gas, and he was going way too fast. I knew it was just a matter of time before we hit something because he was going too fast, and it was like a time bomb just waiting to explode. He said something about turning it off and coasting down the hill in neutral. I remember that John kept telling him not to do that because we knew he would crash. All right, so now I'm going to read this again, but at 140. Here we go. He was low on gas. I am not sure what really happened. I know that we were coasting to save on gas, and he was going away too fast. I knew it was just a matter of time before we hit something because he was going too fast, and it was like a time bomb just waiting to explode. He said something about turning it off and coasting down the hill in neutral. I remember John kept telling him not to do that because we knew he would crash. Okay, so my last time will be at 160. Here we go. Ready? He was low on gas. I am not sure what really happened. I know that we were coasting to save on gas, and he was going way too fast. I knew it was just a matter of time before we hit something because he was going too fast, and it was like a time bomb just waiting to explode. He said something about turning it off and coasting down the hill in neutral. I remember that John kept telling him not to do that because we knew he would crash. All right. Here we go. Here's some legal. Ready? A conviction is a judgment finding the accused guilty. To corroborate is to strengthen another person's statement. A count is an individual charge or cause of action. A court reporter records verbatim testimony at a trial or deposition. Credibility refers to reliability. Cross-examination is questioning of a witness by the opposing attorney. A defense attorney is a lawyer who represents the accused or the defendant. Deliberations are discussions in order to arrive at a decision. A deponent is an individual who gives testimony under. All right. I'm going to read an excerpt from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and this is on imagine the people in your life as tiny infants and as 100-year-old adults. All right, here we go. I learned this technique almost 20 years ago. It has proven to be extremely successful for releasing feelings of irritation toward other people. Think of someone who truly irritates you, who makes you feel angry. Now close your eyes and try to imagine this person as a tiny infant. See their tiny little features and their innocent little eyes. Know that babies can't help but make mistakes, and each of us was, at one time, a little infant. Now, roll forward the clock 100 years. see the same person as a very old person who is about to die. Look at their worn out eyes and their soft smile, which suggests a bit of wisdom and the admission of mistakes made. Know that each of us will be 100 years old, alive or dead, before too many decades go by. You can play with this technique and alter it in many ways. It also, almost always provides the user with some needed perspective and compassion. If our goal is to become more peaceful and loving, we certainly don't want to harbor negativity toward others. Great advice there. All right, some jury charge. This is on highway negligence. I am going to give you a word list. Okay, we've got reasonable. I write that as R-A-E-N-L. Reasonably. I just come back for the A-E. You can come back for the long E. Reasonableness. Careful person. Speculation. Applicable. Inference. Stricken. You can write that as S-T-R-I-N. Attacked. Exhibits, which I write as X-I-B-T-S. Consists. Inconsistent. Disregarding. Deposition, D-E-P, and connection. And the brief for that is K-E-X. K-E final X. All right, here we go. Ready? And it's going to start out with ladies and gentlemen, which you can brief that, L long A-J, lage. Okay, you're also going to hear verdict, which is V-E-R-D, testimony, which is initial T, final M, influence, I write that as F-L-U-N-S, evidence, E-F-D, from time to time, F-R-I-M-T. I don't expect you to remember all of this, but at least you can write it down and practice it later. Stricken, S-T-R-I-N. In this case, N-I-K, Nick. Experience, I like to squeeze that, S-P long E-R-N-S, experience. Negligence, N-E-J-S. And in the case, I write that as neck, and then I would flag neck. Attorney, T-O-R-N. Hopefully that helps. Here we go. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, the court now instructs you that the law applicable to this case is contained in these instructions, and it is your duty to follow them. You must consider these instructions as a whole, not considering one instruction and disregarding others. It is your duty to determine the facts and to determine them from the evidence produced in court. You are to apply the law to the facts and in this way decide the case. Neither sympathy nor prejudice should influence you. Your verdict must be based on evidence and not on speculation, guess, or conjecture. The evidence which you are to consider consists of testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits offered and received. The production of evidence in court is governed by rules of law. From time to time, it has been my duty as judge to rule on the admissibility of evidence. You must not concern yourselves with the reasons for these rulings, and you are not to consider exhibits to which an objection was sustained, or testimony or exhibits which were ordered stricken. Arguments, statements, and remarks of counsel are intended to stand the evidence and applying the law, but are not evidence. If any argument, statement, or remark has no basis in the evidence, then you should disregard that argument, statement, or remark. Neither by these instructions nor by any ruling or remark which I have made do I, or have I, meant to indicate any opinion as to the facts. In determining whether any proposition has been proved, you should consider all of the evidence bearing on the question without regard to which party produced it. A fact may be proved by circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence consists of proof of facts or circumstances which give rise to a reasonable inference of the truth of the facts sought to be proved. In considering the evidence in this case, you are not required to set aside your own observation and experience in this life, but you have a right to consider all the evidence in the light of your own observation and experience in life. You are the sole judges of the credibility of the witnesses and of the weight to be given to the testimony of each of them. In determining the credit to be given any witness, you may take into consideration his ability and opportunity to observe, his memory, his manner while testifying, any interest, bias, or prejudice he may have, and the reasonableness of his testimony considered in the light of all the evidence in the case. An attorney has a right to question a witness by way of a by way of a deposition for the purpose of learning what testimony the witness will give. The fact that the witness has talked to an attorney and told him what he would testify to does not by itself reflect on the truth of the testimony of the witness. The credibility of a witness may be attacked by introducing evidence that on some former occasion the witness made a statement or acted in a manner inconsistent with the testimony of the witness in this case on a matter material to the issues. Evidence of this kind may be considered by you in connection with all the other facts and circumstances in evidence in deciding the weight to be given to the testimony of that witness. When I use the word negligence in these instructions, I mean the failure to do something which a reasonably careful person would do, or the doing of something which a reasonably careful person would not do under circumstances similar to those shown by the evidence. All right. I have an article here. This is called Safe in a Father's Storytelling. Here we go. Ready? Perhaps this is where it is, the point of entry to that simple place we call beauty. I first heard the voice when I was 3 or 4 years old, and my father was reciting, "Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool?" I remember his long arms around me as I sat on his lap. I truly felt cradled. My father toyed and teased with the sound of a word. The discovery of a sound that pleases is the discovery of a new language. The trick is to be led to that sound, to be trained how to listen. My father, like many fathers, anticipated the joy his child might feel at hearing a word stretched and pulled. He pressed his tongue against the roof of his mouth, pursed his lips, forced a bit of extra air out of his lungs, and produced a wonderful sound. Wool. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. Then it was time for bed. Throughout my childhood, my father created for me moments of fancy. He gave me hints, made suggestions that led me to the discovery of my imagination. One autumn afternoon, when my legs were finally long enough, I took an empty peach basket and set it upside down beside the apple tree in our yard. That tree was shaped like a Y, the trunk in the middle with 2 thick branches leading up in different directions. My older brother and sister had long ago conquered the tree, so for me, it was really important to join in their boasts. The day had finally arrived. I climbed on top of the peach basket and grabbed onto the large trunk. With a great effort, I began to pull myself up slowly until I managed to throw a leg over one branch, and there I finally sat with my legs straddling what once belonged exclusively to the big kids. I felt like I finally belonged to that group. I did not realize that my father was watching me from the side of the house. He called out, "So you've made it?" "Yes," I eagerly shouted back. "Don't you think that it looks like an elephant?" he asked. I looked at the long branch that stretched out before me, and then at the thicker one behind me, and suddenly I did feel as if I had climbed upon the back of a large gray elephant. Yes, this is a huge elephant. "Well, ride to Bombay," my father said. I did not know where Bombay was, but it sounded far away and the right place for elephants. So that is where I rode and played all afternoon, and unlimited days of my childhood after that in that tree. When we were growing up, my parents took all of their kids to Canada each July for 2 weeks. We slept in the loft of a small cabin that my father had built. When I was 8, a friend joined us for a few days. Mr. Dickinson knew about my father's journeys with us into the world of imagination. It was he who climbed the stairs one evening and then, in the dark, told us the story of a witch who lived in a house perched on chicken legs that ran around in a deep green forest somewhere in Russia. I will never forget our friend's voice as it traveled over a greater distance than I could conceive. I believed and feared there was a similar witch here, but I trusted the comfort and security of the masculine voice guiding me through her worlds. As we grew older, we focused on those things we trusted and believed in when we were children. For me, it was a voice that had a familiar tone regardless of who spoke. When in high school, one of my teachers read aloud Frank O'Connor's Christmas Morning, and in college, a professor read excerpts from Billy Budd, I realized that I had been there before, on my father's lap and in the darkness of a cool loft during a summer holiday in Canada. There are many points of entry to that simple place we call beauty or comfort or security. For me, it was that universal voice of the guise of good men telling their stories, pulling and stretching out words, or pointing out how a tree might look like a fabulous beast, such as an elephant. Please read to your children often. Tell them stories and recite the rhymes again and again. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. The stories that you tell can be the classical ones or ones that you simply make up as you go along. Okay, so that concludes our literary and jury charge for the 140 class. Have a great day.